Are we streaming?
Yep, we're almost online all the way.
Okay.
For some reason, YouTube is having us trouble connecting. Okay, we're online.
This is Andrea Yount. We are preparing for Therapy Thursday, our weekly broadcast on mental health topics. Therapy Thursday is brought to you by Affinity Counseling Services and A Lovely Pause. This is a test.
Affinity Counseling Services is located in Piggott, Arkansas, and Kennett, Missouri. We currently have 4 therapists in our office and are taking new clients. To join our sign-up sheet, visit counselingwithaffinity.com, and to find out more, you can call me, Kindred, at 870-324-5122 or 573-840-0440. Thank you.
A Lovely Pause is a local nonprofit created to provide community education, awareness, coping skills, and support to people with PTSD and other trauma-related disorders. This month, subscribers to our newsletter will receive a free emotion meter. Use this free tool to gauge your emotions, identify triggers, and list coping skills that work for you. You can sign up for this at A Lovely Pause, PAUSE.com, or visit us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. This is a test.
Let's go ahead and run do something again. We're just trying to get the total volume up.
Okay, we're testing our volume. Now, this is a test. We're about to start Therapy Thursday. Our topic today is we're talking about teen mental health, and today we are going to be speaking about helping teens navigate trauma.
And we are testing. Test, 1, 2. We are getting our sound right to bring you quality sound of lots of things that we're going to talk about today.
Test. I think it can come back up. I think it can go up a little bit more.
Probably wouldn't hurt. It just seems a little low.
It's over there on the shelf.
And we are almost ready for our broadcast. Therapy Thursday will be coming to you shortly.
Hello. Testing. A little bit louder. Okay.
A little bit louder now.
I think that'll just do.
Okay.
Therapy Thursday normalizes discussing mental health topics in a safe, supportive environment, because not being normal is normal.
Welcome, everyone, to Therapy Thursday, our weekly installment here at Affinity Counseling Services, where we talk about different mental health topics from a personal and professional perspective. My name is Matthew Yount, lead therapist and president here at Affinity. To my right is my wife, Andrea.
Hello.
She is our vice president and president of A Lovely Pause. To my further right is Stacy.
Howdy.
We'll figure this out eventually.
Right.
Our marketing director here at Affinity Counseling and also vice president at A Lovely Pause. And back behind the camera this week is Kindred.
Hello.
Kindred is our office manager and a secretary for A Lovely Pause. So
I am.
we are going to be continuing on our conversation about teen mental health. Is there anything that we need to address? We should probably continually promote A Lovely Pause's upcoming event. So what's
yes.
coming up?
A Lovely Pause is going to have a Pause for the Cause city cookout, barbecue, whatever you want to call it. We're going to have hamburgers and sodas and lemonades and all the drinks and foods that hamburger foods that you want to eat.
All the foods that start with ham and end
All
with
the
burger.
hamburger foods that you want. We are going to be having some live grilling up there, but we're also going to be having some live music by Megan Johnson, who recently won the NEA Sings competition. So congratulations to Megan.
Yay.
She's going to be there serenading us as we eat and play some games. We will have Kelly the Clown doing some balloon animals and balloon things for the kids. We will have some people doing face painting as well. We have some games, and our big thing is our pie in the face contest that we're going to be doing. You can vote for your local favorite famous face to get a pie in the face. So we'll be announcing who those people are fairly soon. So then just stay tuned for that. But our event is on April 9th from 10 to 2. And that is a Saturday. So swing by and eat with us and hang out and have some fun and learn what A Lovely Pause is all about.
Cool. So that is coming up pretty soon. You guys are going to have people to vote for, like, who's going to get pies in the face
Yes.
online here in the near future?
Yes,
All right.
it'll be about
Very
a week
cool.
before the event. We'll
Okay,
have that up.
cool. Awesome. All right.
I'm real excited about that part.
Yeah,
Me too.
A Lovely Pause is continuing to grow. I saw some of your marketing material. Looks very snazzy.
Thank you.
You guys are getting your team meetings down to like a science and
Yeah.
starting to get much better at those.
We this past weekend we tie-dyed some T-shirts, which I got done getting all ready yesterday, and they look awesome. So we tie-dyed some T-shirts, and now we're going to put some logos on them, and you can buy those or win those if you come by our event on the 9th.
Sweet. All right, cool. Well, so we got that going on. Anything else going on that we should mention? I'm always behind on what we're doing.
Well, Andrea's got a couple places that she's doing her trauma informed yoga.
Oh
at,
yeah, that's
and,
right. Yeah.
and that's really awesome. And you guys should check it out.
Well, you'll be announcing, I'm sure, soon a partnership that you're doing where you're going to get an opportunity to be teaching on a more regular basis.
Yeah, yes, and I have a couple partnerships and workshops and stuff coming up that I'm excited to
Yeah.
announce, but I'm not ready to announce those yet.
No, not
so-
yet. No, just
Coming
things to
up.
look forward to. All right, cool. So we got a lot going on here with Affinity and all of Affinity related businesses, I guess, or just y'all's businesses, because I stay out of those. So I don't have anything else to do. I've got enough. So let's get into our topic. We are talking about teen mental health, and today we're talking about helping teens navigate trauma. So we've been talking about like ways to talk to your teen, why things like self-injury occur, and just overall the psychology and mental health of a teen in general. So today we're going to be talking more like how does trauma affect teenagers, and like how does it affect them maybe differently than it does adults or even little kids.
And how to help them navigate that and work through that.
Okay. Well, so I think the best place to start off with is we have to remember when we are talking to teens that by nature and because of their brain structure, they're reactionary. And now everybody has a little bit of a different flavor to their reaction, but there are some very common ways that people react to something that is traumatic. So what are the ways that you all see that teens will typically show a reaction to something that may be like very difficult or traumatic news or a traumatic situation?
They shut down the conversation.
Yeah.
If they don't want to talk about it.
So that's one way, right? Especially with adults. They just kind of like freeze up, go quiet, don't want to say anything.
Or say, I don't want to talk about it. Or, I mean, just,
Yep.
they just shut down.
Yes. And then they immediately go and talk to their friends about it, usually, is what happens. Is especially if it's something that, like, someone passed away that was close to them in their teen group, and they may start talking amongst one another, but they probably don't want to talk to you as an adult right away. Mostly because there's that tension that goes on as a teen of, like, you're wanting to try to be more self-sufficient. You don't want to appear like you can't handle things. You're in shock. Your friend group is typically who you go to the most, which is not always good, but that's what happens. So they shut down a lot of times in front of adults. Okay, so there's the shutdown. What are some of the other things that we see happen?
Becoming impulsive in their decision-making processes. So maybe reacting in different ways, not making the best decisions at that point in time because they're just, responding to whatever's going on.
Sure. So they're impulsive, and sometimes in ways that are detrimental, which a lot of times impulsive behavior is detrimental. But they'll do things that may, like we talked about, self-harm. They may do something that's self-harming. They may run and use substances, or they may start talking or engaging back with someone that was not good for them to be with in the first place because they had some type of weird emotional reaction or connection with them. So, or they may run and talk to their friends, and their friends are making a big deal out of something that's happened, and now their friends are feeding into this, and they're all making collective bad decisions together. So we see that happen as well. So, okay, impulsive behavior. We see shutting down. Anything else that you can recognize?
More anger, more angry outbursts.
Yeah, like dramatizing the situation.
Just behavior changes in that way, like more angry, more dramatized, more that's basically it.
Yeah.
More angry and more dramatic.
Yeah, and when we say dramatic, we have to be careful how we use it, because a lot of times the idea is when somebody is being dramatic that they're theatrically putting on a show.
That's not what overemphasizing their emotions, overfeeling their emotions.
Yeah,
they
sure.
feel them that much. It's just it's like they're going through something traumatic that they're either trying not to feel or that they're feeling just overwhelmingly, and so
Yeah.
their behavior in all areas becomes just that much more pronounced.
Yes. So they are overexpressing emotion. Now, trauma has got a lot of overexpression of emotion that's
Yeah.
going to come with it anyway.
Yeah.
And then you add on top of that a difficult ability to regulate your own emotions anyway. I mean, teenagers are right in between that line of adult and child, and we all know how little kids respond to their emotions. I mean, my goodness, they can, have a very small circumstance happen, and it seems like a major, massive meltdown. And so teens aren't that far removed from being that person. Their brains are just a little bit more developed, so they're going to have very strong reactions to circumstances. So let's talk about the different ways that we help teens navigate based on what reaction we may get. So I think first, if we're going to have to deliver news that can be traumatic, how do we go about doing that in a way that's healthy but also is best for a teen?
Maybe identifying that there's something bigger going on at first would be the first thing, noticing those changes in behavior, like you were talking about, seeing that it's affecting them so more than maybe they're letting on.
Yeah, sure.
And,
so that's more like if we see them, they've had the news delivered, and now we're kind of watching them.
So what you were talking about is us
actually having to deliver the
news.
news. Yeah, something traumatic has just happened.
Oh, I got
How do we deliver this news to teenagers in a way that is more effective for that age group?
Get them privately.
Yes.
Find a private spot where they feel safe or can feel safe. Be very compassionate and let them know that you're there for them, and that it's okay for them to show emotions.
Mm-hmm. And
whatever they're feeling.
I would say also add to that, in most circumstances, I'm not going to say all, but in most circumstances, you need to be direct.
Oh yeah.
And you don't need to beat around or pretend like you're trying not to tell them, or like you've been hiding this from them for a while. In most circumstances, you just need to set them down, and you need to say, look, something really difficult has happened, something bad has happened. I'm going to just tell you straight, here's how it is. And tell them. Because while they're not fully adults yet, they will usually appreciate it more if you speak to them just like you would another adult. Knowing you may not get the best reaction, but I mean, really, how many adults react well in situations anyway?
Right.
I mean, a lot of people are still functioning at that level of maturity, at the teenage level of maturity, even as adults. So you're not always going to get the best response from adults, but your best bet is to sit down and be direct but compassionate at the same time. And when you provide that direct, compassionate approach, you're giving the kid the opportunity, to respond in a way that is, you're going to let them have their response, but you're not building up the situation to make it worse. Because like if you hold things back from a while and you're acting weird and you're acting like you're not trying to tell them something and they recognize that something's up, or you sit around and like, well, I don't know if I should tell you this, so I don't know, and it makes it really difficult for them because they're sitting there building anticipation. Like, what is it you're not telling me? Why are you not telling me this? And then you're going to get an even bigger reaction out of somebody. Excuse me. Got a cold. Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah. I guess you can drink after me. We live in the same house and share the same bed. Thank you very much. I needed that. So when we're dealing with teens in that circumstance, we have to at least give them the opportunity to say something or respond to something from a direct manner, just like you would tell an adult. Would you agree with that? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Okay. So once we've told them, let's say you get the shutdown response. Okay. Mm-hmm. So how should we respond to them in those moments where they shut down?
My first thing would be to let them know that whatever feelings they're feeling, it is okay for them to feel it and to let it out, and also to, as adults, to be an example of that. Like, and I'm not saying you go in there, crying and being, like over the top. Obviously, you don't want to do that because then that would make the situation a lot more dramatic than it needs to be. But showing that you're saying that I'm sad too, or I'm angry too, or whatever you're feeling, and saying, and that's okay to express that, and however you want to. I've told my kids, if you want to go outside and scream or throw something, let's go. Like, just giving them something that, letting them know that however they're feeling right then is okay and that they can go express it. But then at the same time, I feel like, also letting them know that you're there with them, you're experiencing this with them, and that you're going to be, support. You're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah. So you're giving them permission up front to express their emotions. Mm-hmm. And they may be so overwhelmed because honestly, our first response to something traumatic is denial. Yeah. We're like, and denial can present itself in different ways, like even out loud saying that can't be real or that can't be true, or it can be saying something like, or responding with nothing and going totally zoned out. So that kid may not even be really hearing you in that moment.
It takes a moment to process what's actually going on.
Yeah, and so
then the emotions come.
Right, and that may not even happen for months after the traumatic event. So the key is with somebody who shuts down is having a way to continually check on them.
Yeah.
In a way that's respective of their boundaries, but also lets them know they have support and that you're here. I mean, you're going to be a little bit annoying about it, but not to the point where it drives them to like, look, you're bugging me about this all the time. Stop.
And I'm just going to throw out there that we have the emotion meter this month as our freebie, and that's what it's for. And we talked about that. It's like gauging your emotions. How are you feeling right now? And it doesn't even have to be the one we created. Find one. You can find one online. You can find a picture that has, well, the one we have has smiley faces. Sad face to smiley face. Are you feeling sad today? Are you feeling in the middle? Or are you feeling happy today?
Yeah.
And then just gauging that emotion. And then underneath it, we have like what's triggered you and what makes you feel better. And so for in these types of situations, and I think we've talked about this before during COVID, during what we called COVID camp, we did this because we were under a lot of stress and we had a lot of kids under one roof and it was very overwhelming. And so we would send out this thing every day to check on everybody. And it helped us as adults to see where everybody was at, but also like where we were at. Right. Yeah. And so it's very helpful to be able to use those things when you're going through those types of crises so that you can have a way to gauge where everybody's at and when you need to actually sit down and have a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it helps them to recognize when they need to have a conversation, as well as us as adults, like when we need to do something about how we're feeling.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because sometimes asking that open-ended question of like, how's it going? How are you doing? Like, I don't know.
Right.
They're too overwhelmed to answer it.
But a really simple little graph with some smiley faces or sad faces on it is really easy to be like, okay, I'm not feeling super sad today, but I might be like one up from this sad, right? So
yeah. And that's for like a continual process, right?
Yes.
That after you're dealing with somebody who shut down. Okay, so what do you do with a child or teen who now is responding with very dramatic emotional responses?
I feel like personally, I would take that child with you if it was our child with another adult, and I would go find a private place, a safe place, and ask them what's going on. Like how are they feeling? And I've noticed that your behavior or whatever you're acting this way, and sometimes that can mean that you're feeling something. So what's really going on underneath what?
Yeah, so that
there?
would typically occur like not maybe days or even weeks after the traumatic event has happened. You're still seeing this prolonged expression of dramatic emotions, higher levels of anger, higher levels of anxiety, higher levels of depression. Now, in the moment, if you have to deliver traumatic news, you're going to expect that, all right, I might see some really dramatic emotion because I'm feeling it too, honestly.
Exactly.
And in those circumstances, it's probably best to get them most alone as you can and allow them to continue to express those
and just
emotions.
let them cry or yell or whatever they need to do in that moment, and just hold a safe space for them to do that, like so where they're not hurting anyone or hurting themselves or anything like that, but allowing them to get that emotion out.
Yeah. And they may even respond with saying things like, I just want to die. I just want to kill myself. And that doesn't always mean that they're going to do that. In fact, most of the time it means they're not. But you want to encourage them like, look, it is okay to be sad, but we're not going to threaten to hurt ourselves as a way to express that. If you want to be sad as you need to be. But don't use that as a way to express it, because you're only setting yourself up to think that way, and you're only scaring other people who are already having a difficult time. Now, if you are really thinking that way, we need to have a deeper conversation. But if you're just feeling really sad and that's how you're expressing it or hurt, then we're not going to do that. I mean, I had to do that recently with a kid. I was like, nope. I don't care how you're feeling. We're not doing that. We're not using that as a way of expressing our emotions unless you really mean it. So do you really mean it? No. Okay. Well, then we're not going to use that. Yeah. So it may have to be redirecting some of those strong emotions, because what you can also see is because they're so frustrated or so hurt, they may go take out feelings on other people. They may take it out on their siblings. They may take it out on you, on other family members, on friends.
Well, and, teenagers having those overwhelming emotions a lot of times like the feeling of that emotional roller coaster. Not saying they enjoy feeling bad, but it's just that addictiveness, right, of the emotional roller coaster. So, being really, really sad, even as adults, it's hard for us a lot of times to pull ourselves up out of that. So as kids, they may internalize that and start living within that sadness, and we got to be careful and make sure that they're allowed to express it, and using things like the emotion meter or something like that to figure out,
Yeah, but you've got to
they're
kind
not
of,
staying
as
in
the
that.
adult, you kind of have to guide it. In the sense that you have to give them boundaries within to express the emotions. It's kind of like saying, we're not going to let you get away with expressing no emotion, and we're not going to let you do anything that's going to hurt yourself, other people, or relationships. So you can do everything in between that, but we got to set this floor and ceiling for you, because we can't let you do something that you're going to be regretful and make the situation worse. So it's like how to handle trauma while to express your emotions, but in a way that's dignified as well. So it's a complicated thing to do, because whatever is traumatic that just happened may also be affecting you as the parent. And one of the hardest things I think about being in that type of leadership role is when something traumatic happens, you kind of have to be the rock, and you have to make sure that everybody gets through their states of emotion so that you at least know that they're good, so that maybe at some point you can finally express yours. And it's difficult because you want to openly express with your kids, but you don't want to do it in a way that scares them or makes the situation worse. And sometimes you feel like if you let go, then you're not going to be able to be there for them. And so you have this path that you have to navigate through your own feelings related to the trauma, and making sure everybody else is okay because they don't have the same tools you do
Yeah.
to navigate those.
And that's why therapy is so important because, you know, if you're having to go and navigate through this trauma while helping everyone else navigate through trauma, you need a little bit of help. You know, you do.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you know, next month is we have National Public Health Week. And I feel like mental health is such a national public health issue because of this right here. Because we all have these traumas and these things that we go through, and then we feel like we have to do it on our own, and we don't. Luckily we live in a very giving and loving community, and we have, you know, people who are close to us. But even that's not always exactly what it needs to be, right?
Right.
That's not helping you work through those problems that are keeping you up at night, or the issues that are, you know, having to work through trauma while you're helping your kid work through trauma. Like having a little bit of help, that's what mental health is for.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to put that in there because I really feel like that's a big deal that a lot of people feel like, oh, well, we can just handle, this is our business. We can handle it on our own. But then people are so thankful when, you know, they have that help. And that's what mental health services are here for.
Yeah. So it's good to have that type of feedback because what you get is you're getting a response from somebody who's not emotionally invested
Yeah.
and who knows what to look for.
Yes.
So, you know, while you're sitting there going, is my kid okay? Is my kid okay? They seem to be crying all the time, or they're doing this or they're doing this. You know, you have a professional that can tell you, hey, everything that they're going through, it's pretty normal for their age group. But I'm just going to recommend, you know, you might want to have some conversations about this, or this may be a good thing for us to talk about in family therapy. You know, so you got somebody who's giving you more objective feedback and somebody who's helping you navigate this from a place that doesn't have as much emotion.
Right. And, you know, you go to a general practitioner and you go get your levels checks, you know, blood work done or whatever, and they can tell you what, you know, what's low on average and high on average
Yep.
or optimized or whatever. It's very similar with mental health. We can tell you what's you know, normal, what's not, what's optimized.
healthy, yeah.
Right, healthy. Okay, there's no
I
normal.
don't- yeah.
No normal in mental
I'm
health.
not sure healthy and normal are the same thing.
Right, exactly. So what's healthy? And so it's very much the same thing. We have statistics and things like that, and therapists, you know, have been doing this for a long time. They know, you know, what's in the bounds of this. And so I think that's important for people to realize that it is very much like physical health in that aspect of going to a doctor and being like, hey, I'm having this issue, help me.
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
it's very much like that.
So we have that response that we may have to deal with is the overly dramatic. Then there's the impulsive response. So that's where they may run and do something as a response to try to block out the feelings and disconnect from the feelings that they're having related to the trauma itself. So this, again, can be things like substance use. It could be getting like deeply involved in dramatic relationships is a way to block things out because drama is a great way to block out your own feelings about something because you're getting involved in somebody else's stuff, or you're so involved in something else you can't think about all the bad stuff. So people use drama as a way to do that. Or they say impulsive things, or they drive too fast, or do something like that. I remember that's about a really bad teenage boy thing, is they get mad and they take off and want to punch it to the metal and like, I'm angry, and show it that way, and like, okay, you're just setting yourself up to get hurt. So how do we deal with kids that are being impulsive as a means of dealing with their trauma?
Setting safe limits for them, like if they're being if they're overly angry and you know, like, I mean, we have Life 360, so if I know that my kid's driving 70 all the time, then, or if I see that they've been driving 100 miles an hour or something like that, then I'm gonna be like, okay, what's up? You lose your car, you know, until we can figure out what's going on, and all that stuff. So like setting those safe boundaries when you see that things are happening, and a little tough love would be my first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be my first.
Well, it's
my
like
first reaction.
those natural consequences, you know. I know. So I was a very impulsive teenager. Whenever you know I hit those hard times, and I didn't talk to my parents, but there were signs. There were signs everywhere that there was something going on because I was being sneaky. I was being deceptive. I was, there was stuff everywhere that was pointing to there was an issue. And so like the logical consequences are like, like taking away the car keys or like, okay, you're not going to be able to hang out with these people anymore because the last several times you've hung out with them, it's been something bad's, happened and you're doing something you're not supposed to be. So and they're going to rebel against it. They're going to be mad. They're going to like probably say any number of things about like, how you're being a terrible parent or you don't understand or whatever, because I threw all those out. Like,
Sure.
As the parent, it's our job to like to take those, like give that hard love when it's needed, because that is 100% when they're in that traumatized brain mode and being impulsive and reactive, they're not able to make those good decisions for themselves.
No, and so the way that it's not as easy, and it does take some emotional intelligence, but I find the best way to deal with kids who are being impulsive and doing things like that is if I'm going to take something away from you, I'm giving you a way to get it back.
Yeah.
I'm usually not saying like, you lose your vehicle for a week, because a week, I don't know what changes in a week.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if you're better or worse at the end of that week. Yeah. But I might want to look for things like, okay, you've been distant, you haven't been expressing your emotions, you've been wanting to talk to us about stuff, and I can see that that's coming out in your behavior. So you're driving too fast, you're going places you're not supposed to go. So here's what we're going to do. You're losing your car, but you're going to lose it until you start communicating with us, and we think that you are going to be more responsible and more capable. When you can show us responsibility and capability and consistency, then, if you can do that in a week, great. If it takes a month, and that's how long it takes. But we're going to do this until you've shown that you can regain that level of trust. And when you regain that, I'll be happy to turn the things back over to you. So it's up to you. How quickly can you do it? That's on you. But I'm going to recommend, I'm not telling you got to be better. I'm not going to say that you have to be like over the trauma, because that's not it at all. You just can't be responding this way. So I'm going to have to remove these things from you for your own safety until you can start showing that you're ready to deal with this in a way that's healthy. And once they do that, then we want to turn the things back over to them and tell them, okay, you've earned this back. I trust you again. You seem to be using things responsibly, but I will be paying attention.
What about when it's relationships and not things?
Yeah, that's tough, right?
Yeah, because like they are so intertwined to like their the people they're connected to at that time, and they might not always be healthy connections, right? And so sometimes as parents, we have to intercede on these relationships that we can see as adults, and like from the outside we're like, oh, this is nowhere good going, right? So like how do you intercede in those situations?
So in those circumstances, it's if we see that, unless it's a major violation, in the beginning, if we kind of see some problems, we tell them like, okay, you're not going to see that person for a while until we start seeing some better behavior out of you, and then we'll decide if we let you go hang out with them again. If you do, we are going to be watching. If the same things continue to happen, you're going to be removed from that relationship even longer. If you do it again, or the violations are just too bad, that's not a healthy person for you to hang out with, and the answer is no. And if you want to violate that, then we're going to have to start taking other things away from you. But you've proven this relationship isn't healthy for you, and that you cannot figure out a way to manage it to be healthy. We've tried to give you all the tools to figure that out. You either haven't used them, or the other person isn't respecting it. So either way, this is an unhealthy relationship, and it will have to end. So we either try to give them the tools on how to make it better, or we have to cut it off altogether.
Yeah.
So I know that this is a difficult challenge in dealing with teens who have trauma or who have just learned about something traumatic, but that's what therapy is for, and we are here to help. You can reach out to us at Affinity Counseling Services, AFFINITY, on our Facebook. You can sign up through our website at counselingwithaffinity.com. Or you can call us at our Piggott office, 870-324-5122, or our Kennett office at 573-840-0440. And next week we will finish up this topic. What are we talking about? Teen depression and suicide, okay? Cheerful topics this month. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.